I'm Allison Campbell. I'm the Acting Associate Laboratory Director for the Earth and Biological Sciences Directorate, and I'm here with Erin Baker in one of the mass spectrometry labs. So, Erin, can you tell me a little about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm a Montana girl. I was born and raised there. I went to my undergrad at Montana State and then went to my PhD research at University of California, Santa Barbara.
Okay, so you're in the Integrative Omics group
Yep.
that Josh Atkins runs, right?
Yep.
And you're working on IEM Ability mass spectrometry. So what does this do for us?
Yeah, so IEM Ability does a structural separation, so you can tell the different sizes of the molecules, and then mass spec basically weighs them, so you can tell the different weights. And so this gives us two different dimensions to analyze our samples with.
Okay, so you can take a molecule and you can kind of see what its geometry is,
Yeah.
and then what its mass is, and then that tells you what it is.
Right.
Okay, and so what would you use that for?
And so we're using that here to analyze all kinds of different samples. And one of the sample types we're looking at is soil samples. And so environmental samples have really high concentrations of organic material. So the IEM Mobility separates the humic acids in the soils away from peptides, which we're really interested in understanding how the microbes in the soil, the peptides change. And so with the humics, they go to a different place, and then we can just analyze the peptides with the mass spec.
Right, and so that peptides tells us a little bit about the microbial community that's
Yep.
down there, how nutrients and carbon are flowing.
Yep.
Ultimately tells us about the carbon dynamics and the carbon cycle, for
Yeah,
instance.
yeah. So we're getting a lot of information out.
So it sounds to me like you're looking for different molecules in a sea of molecules, or
Yeah.
you can identify. So what are the other applications?
So we're also doing a lot of NIH-based studies, and so we're looking at type 1 diabetes and looking at actually metabolomic studies of type 1 diabetes patients to see if their metabolism is different than just control patients.
Okay, and so for those of us that don't know about metabolomics, that is sort of the byproduct of a certain process.
Yeah.
And so that can give you a marker for some alteration of a normal process.
Right, yeah, and we're looking
Like
for those alterations.
sugars and all of the, what other types of biomarkers can you find?
So we're also looking at cancer samples, and so we've been looking at breast cancer tissue. We've also looked at tuberculosis samples and all kinds of different diseases. We've looked at one called sarcopenia, which is when older men, all of a sudden, all their muscle changes to fat within like a year, and they end up wheelchair bound.
Wow. What's the biggest challenge, and what excites you about coming to work every day?
So the biggest challenge I have in my area is the sample types. So even urine, there's some people where their urine samples are basically orange, and other people where their urine samples are pretty clear.
Yeah.
And so all the different components in the urine samples cause the instruments to get dirty at different rates. And so we have to make sure that we clean the instruments enough that we analyze every sample and give it a fair shot in the
Do
instrument.
you separate out like any cells that might be in there? Or,
So we separate out any particulates. Yeah.
So we have something in common, because I did biomineralization in grad school,
Yeah.
and the system that I did was kidney stones, and we used to do a lot of experiments in urine.
Oh yeah.
And it's a complex media,
It's very hard.
and more complex than one thinks.
Yeah.
So. Tell me, you came to PNL about 10 years ago. What was
Yep.
the biggest surprise about working in the national lab?
So I guess the biggest surprise is in grad school, you're kind of expected to do everything. And here you have experts in every area. So working with all those experts, it's amazing the type of research you can get out instead of just having things in grad school that aren't quite done or just only done to a certain level. Here the products are amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way. You're having an impact on the quality of people's lives.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's our biggest
Or
goal, I
our
think.
environment, right?
Yeah.
The impact on making the environment better, and which also impacts the quality of people's lives. So.
Yeah.
Well, thanks.
Oh, thank you.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
All right.